I forgot to say who's going to pitch.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, guys. We're live to Alpha Talk, and tonight is a live show. We're here with Chris from We Buy Guns, and when we get back, we'll tell you some other stuff you guys need to tune into. All right, guys. So we are live on YouTube. We are live on Rumble, and we are live on Twitch. Somewhat, whatever. Twitch people have you guys have a very tasteful flavor over there. So before we do that, we're going to go ahead and thank who sponsors this whole thing here. And
shebang.
Yeah, this whole shebang. And that's Saber Team Tactical. And type in saberteamtactical.com. And from there, remember on the first page, you have Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube page, and that Reddit sign actually takes you to the Rumble page. And from there, just click on the classes. There you go, Al.
Yep, and our mainstay is that one-on-one private training. We still pretty much get all our licks from that, and it's doing well. As we always explain, we do an assessment, figure out where you are as far as your fundamentals and your skill building, and we start climbing from there. We put you through some courses. We break things down from grip all the way to sight picture, and we work you out. Then we leave you with something so that you can continue your progress, even if we never see you again. We'd hope that you come back for intermediate and advanced classes, but if you don't, you'll be set on your way.
Right, and also too, those classes itself, please, the one-on-one classes, if you have a business or a church, or you just want to learn how to fight, protect yourself in your home, and those classes are actually excellent for that. We can do a lot of different things in those classes, so don't be discouraged that you are coming out just to learn to stand and shoot. We can teach you how to survive.
Right.
And but we got some classes coming up: concealed carry class, medical class, August 12th. Then July 22nd, the rifle PCC class. That shows you everything on the rifle. You can even bring out a 22 if you want to work it. But we're going to work that rifle just like a pistol. And we got the rifle medical class coming up in October, and the big shebang, the rifle and tactical gear class. That's for all you gear guys. That is the class that will, if you think you're ready, you got to be an intermediate to an advanced student to come to that class. Not only allow 6 people, because it's a class I actually taught on active duty, and this class is no joke. So if you want to really learn something, you come out to this class right here. But you need to come through and do one of the assessment courses with Al, or take the rifle PCC class so we see where you're at before you come to that class, because it's on a recommendation.
Yeah, and it's a lot of movement with firearms. So it's not a cakewalk.
Not a cakewalk class. So also still, you hit that last tab right there. You got the laser engraving stuff in the back. Got any questions on that? You want to have a portrait or something done, or magazines, leather patch, anything, a novelty type item. Give me your name, email, phone number, and your subject, and send me a message, and we'll go from there. Now tonight we have, but before I go through that, tonight's show, I'll bring Chris in, and we'll talk about that. All right.
Hey.
There we go. Let me configure you, Chris.
Sure.
Boom. There he is.
There we go.
Tonight we have Chris from WeBuyGuns.com. Then go ahead and introduce yourself, Chris.
First, gentlemen, thank you for having me on your show. It's going to be great fun to be here. So thanks again for the invite. My name's Chris. I own Marksman Shooting Sports up in Westfield, Indiana. We run a website, WeBuyGuns.com, and I have a YouTube channel, Marksman TV.
Right. And we're going to hold all, if you guys have any questions in the chat, or anything of that nature, hold them until like 20, 30 minutes. When you see the phone number come up, we're going to do something different tonight. We're gonna actually give away the 2 Alpha Talk leather patch. It's got a Velcro back on it, and to the first 4 callers who have a question for Chris or have a question for the show, but you will not be able to call in until I put up that phone number. Okay, so let's get right down into it. Myself, I'm from California, and I know Al's from a blue state too. And
I escaped though.
yeah, I escaped too. And California wasn't blue. I remember growing up in California in the 70s, and it was the biggest thing that blew my mind was we went to a flea market, an open air flea market, and my dad bought a 22 rifle sitting on the table at an open air flea market. No background check, no nothing. And the guy had several pistols, shotguns sitting on the table, and you just walk right up, offer him some money, buy him, and take it home. It's no big deal. And slowly but surely, I started seeing things started to change in California, and then I started fighting against the Second Amendment in California. And you know what? All those gun stores and everybody was telling me, it's not going to happen here. Now look where they're at today.
Right.
And now I know, and me and Al talked about it, that they were using California as a test bed for the rest of the nation. Whatever California can get away with, if you notice, they was doing the same thing for the rest of the nation, trying to push the gun control bills and laws. And when Reagan got shot and the Brady Bill came out, that was the first step. That was the first shot. But everybody was like, well, it's going to sunset after 10 years. And they all said, well, don't worry about it. And so we didn't, for 10 years. And it didn't change anything, And so everybody was like, well, if this is the first shot, then what's the second and third shot? So now we're seeing what's happening today, and we're seeing a bunch of gun control bills come across the bow. Well, we almost lost our rights here just last year with HR 1808, and a lot of people are still not even wrapping their heads around what's going on. So I mean, it's a lot has happened between 1970s and the year 2000. What is it? 23, and we having the media sensationalizing shootings. We had the FBI change the narrative on what a mass shooting was. They made it 4 more people, so you have gang activity. And even in this last one, you had the guy who went to that college and shot 3 people, shot himself. They classify him as number 4. So you're not even supposed to count the shooter. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, they're taking the whole narrative. And then you got the CDC doing the same thing. It's taking self-defense stuff. The whole thing is, they're trying to push this juggernaut locomotive to get rid of guns totally. And what's the biggest question everybody need to ask themselves? Why? You know what I'm saying? What is the big deal about us having firearms?
What's the end game?
Yeah. So do you see that in your line of work or in your experience, Chris?
Yeah, so my history with growing up in the United States is a little bit different than yours. I grew up in Oklahoma, where I lived until I was about 12, and then I moved to where I am now in Indiana. And so I was born in the 80s. I spent most of my my sort of more childhood years throughout the 90s and early 2000s as I was growing up into adulthood. And I wasn't really, people in my family weren't really into guns, so I wasn't really into the gun culture at that time per se. But I do remember the societal impression of firearms through the 90s at least. And I would say that generally, before the 1989 Stockton schoolyard shooting and Bush Sr. pushing through the importation restrictions on supporting guns. And then, of course, the infamous 1994 assault weapons ban. Leading up to that point, I feel like, again, a lot of this is before my time, but I feel like the country as a whole had a pretty positive to neutral opinion on firearm ownership. Like you said, there was a time when there was no background checks. My dad grew up in rural Oklahoma in the 1950s, and they rode to school on the bus with their 22 rifles and put them in the principal's office. So you had 15 or 20 boys walking in the front door of the school with 22 rifles, and nobody thought anything of it because, the idea of a mass shooting at a school or anything just was an idea that nobody had really thought of. 1999 rolls around, and Columbine happens, and I think you start seeing this sort of societal panic about private firearm ownership. And I think for the first time, a lot of elements of the media and different political organizations started to see the impact that could be derived from sort of pushing through the narrative, like we discussed, through these shootings and mass casualty events, whatever you want to call them, and the political and money that could be generated out of the sensationalization of those events. And then now I don't think that there's an incentive as a society to try and fix the problem or help people that might be struggling with mental illness. Instead, the emphasis is put on gun control. I think that's a solution, or it's not it's a recommended solution that will not work, which is in part why it's constantly recommended. And to keep the sensationalization of shootings to continue without ever trying to address the problem. So I think that that's the general evolution of things. And here we are now, like you said, in 2023. And everything's just a complete and total mess. And here we are.
Yeah, they know it doesn't work. So my personal opinion, I just think they have a surprise for us. That's the reason why they want to get rid of guns. We in the last, let's take a little history. We know the Second Amendment was wrote for not personal ownership. It was wrote for the fight against the tyrannical government. Those guys back then, they saw this coming, and so because the United States was built to flee England's tyranny, and so we have what we had during, we call it the Summer of Love. When the people were burning the cities down for a year, and then we had the what's the term we use for the sickness, Al?
Cough, the coof.
Cough, yeah, the coof. And during those times, that's when our government really put the fear into American people's eyes and told them that, they told them with the cough that our society is about to crumble, because they stopped, United States stopped. And immediately, the whole United States stopped. And then we had the Summer of Love that happened. Then you had the news media showing it and saying, this is what's happening, but it's not happening. So everybody know that if you have an event that's tragic and you're showing it and they're sitting there saying, well, nothing's burning in the background, but you see every building in the background on fire, and you're like, and now they're saying, well, it's coming to a neighborhood near you, So what happened was a lot of people, over 8 million people, went out and bought guns.
Yeah,
exactly what happened.
Yeah. So, and we asked those people, why you guys are buying guns? You never wanted to buy a gun before. I've had friends of mine who sold their guns because they were anti-gun, and they went out and bought guns, but they won't take any training. And but they bought these firearms because they said, well, the world is about to end. I need to protect my family.
The mindset changed too.
Mindset changed.
The mindset changed when everything was seemingly about to turn into some kind of Mad Max movie. Then all of a sudden, people who were opposed to being gun owners became gun owners. And that was the weird thing, is that dynamic was against many people's political beliefs as well as their morals. But yet
Yeah.
they still went out and purchased a firearm.
Hmm.
It was like the reality started to set in. Did you guys see that as well?
What's
So
that?
I will
No,
never
I was asking
forget.
Chris.
Yeah, so I have a brick and mortar store in Indiana, Marksman
Hmm.
Shooting Stores, and I will never forget. It was a Thursday, so it was a Thursday. I opened the stores, totally normal day. COVID, all that, the coof, whatever we call it, was just starting to ramp up and starting to really make headlines in the media. And I went home that night, and my wife said, my son's school is closed, and they're closing down until further notice. And I said, wow,
Hmm.
this is getting crazy.
Hmm.
And their entire school district, all the school districts around us at the same time closed down all the schools. And my thought originally was, ooh, this is something big,
Right.
because they're closed down the school not for a day, not for a week. It was until further notice,
Yeah.
and it actually ended up being the remainder of the school year. But the next day, I went in, opened the door. A guy comes in and says, "Do you have any 12 gauge shots?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you have any buckshot?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'll take it all." I said, "You're going to take it all?" He said, "Yeah, I'll take it all." And I said, "Okay, give me a minute. I need a box for you." And so I fill it. Another guy comes in. "Do you have any 12 gauge shells?" I said, "Well, I have slugs and I have bird shots, but I'm out of buckshot." He said, "Okay, I'll take all your slugs." All of them? I said, "Yeah." And I had no idea what was going on or what was about to
Hmm.
happen.
Right.
Right.
And then the next guy comes in, "Do you have shotgun shells?" I said, I have slugs and I have buckshot. I mean, I'm out of slugs and buckshot, but I have birdshot. He goes, "Okay, I'll take everything you have. What about 9 millimeters?" I said, "Yeah, I've got, I don't know, about 10 or 15 cases." So 3 cases. And that's how the day went. And 5 days later, and it was with guns too. 5 days later, I had nothing to sell in my shop.
Wow.
You're sold out
It took
just that fast.
5 days to sell me out. So I closed for 2 weeks. I went into my store every day just to get in deliveries. I was on the phone with all my distributors every day trying to get anything I could. I got in about 40 or 50 more guns. I got in maybe about, between all calibers, maybe about 10,000 rounds of ammo. Stocked everything up. I put a note up on our Facebook, we're opening up this Friday. We're next to a donut shop. And so, employee that worked with me at the time, his name was Andy, is there, and I pull up, and one of the ladies at the coffee shop who would always bring us coffee said, "You guys have Ted Nugent and signing autographs today?" I said, "No." She said, "You guys have a line wrapped from your front door all around to the side of the building." And so I opened the door, and sure enough, I took our little sandwich sign out that we put out on our sidewalk, and I looked down to the very end of the building, and we had a line. And 40, 50, 60 guns, about 10,000 rounds of ammo. By about 3 o'clock that day, we were sold out again. It
Gone.
was the
Yeah.
craziest thing I've ever seen. And that's how it went. And then for probably a solid year to a year and a half, it was just gloves were off, fighting as hard as we could just to get inventory in the store. So, on the phone with distributors are like, "No, I couldn't get certain inventory items." And he's telling me, "Look, I've got guys that are, sitting on the website hitting refresh at 3 o'clock in the morning to get a Glock." And I said, "I'm not going to sit on your website at 3 o'clock in the morning to get one gun." So
Right.
that's what you're going to have to do. The demand is just not. And that's what we were dealing with. And that's why, because of that, I started WeBuyGuns.com. I said, screw this. I can't get guns from anybody. I'm going to go get my own guns. And that's why the website started.
Right.
Now we have a ton of inventory, but the demand has swung. The pendulum has swung totally back.
Yeah, the direction.
The
Right.
demand is really tapered off.
Mhm.
And so, but anyway, that's kind of where we are right now.
Well, that's cool, and that was going to lead into my next question for you as well. Is what's the concept? I mean, I know it. I looked at your website, but can you explain the concept of We Buy Guns?
Yeah, so WeBuyGuns.com. The idea was kind of where it started from is we were always a big used gun dealer here in central Indiana. So
Okay.
we have that same A-frame sign that I was talking about that I walked out to the sidewalk and I saw the line around the building. It's just a sign that says "We Buy Guns," and we're in a busy strip mall, and we have a Kroger shopping center. I don't know if you guys have Kroger down there.
Yeah, we do too.
Thing. Okay, so you do. Big shopping center. So we have a lot of traffic. And a lot of times people will bring in used guns and they'll say, I didn't know you were here, but I saw your sign. We buy guns outside. So we buy a lot of locally, we buy a lot of used guns. And so what if I made this a national sort of thing? We buy guns.com. So I went and the URL was for sale. It wasn't cheap, but I had to have it. So I bought it. And I created we buy guns.com. And it's basically a virtual, anybody who's been into guns for a little while knows, you go into a gun store to sell a gun. You know how the process works. It's basically that, but it's a virtual process.
Okay.
It's a pretty new concept. There are a couple other people doing something similar, and since I started mine, other people have started similar websites.
Yeah.
But you just put your firearm on our website, brief description, you hit some buttons, basically telling us what condition it's in and what it comes with. You can write a brief description if you want to do that. You upload a couple photos, which you can do right from your cell phone. The form should take you maybe 3 to 5 minutes for one gun. You send it to us, and within about 2 business days, we'll send you back an offer. And the idea is there's a lot of people out there that don't know necessarily what it is they have or its value. So you don't want to go into any random pawn shop or gun store in your area and take the first offer you get. So most people come to our shop or come to our site, you get an offer and you get a printable offer certificate, which you can print and then take it with you to your local gun shops and say, hey, I have an offer in hand. This is
You're a nice guy.
Can you beat it? And if they can beat it, more power to them. You got more money for your gun. That's great. If they can't beat it, we stand behind our offer, sell it to us. And we get, in a week, we'll get hundreds of used guns from around the country. So it's really blowing up, and we're getting in a lot of stuff. And we open a lot of those guns on camera on our YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that. So you're probably getting a lot of used guns coming in now.
Yes, very, very, very gently used guns. Yes.
Listen to what he's about to hit you with. Listen to it because this is his idea too.
Yeah,
this is something similar that he had.
Because
he was going to offer $50 to anyone who bought a gun during the big rise up. And I'm like, hey, we'll do a review of it. We did a video of it. And it's like, go do a review. And he's looking at me like, no, $50. That's it.
Right. Because some of the local gun shops only offer $250 to maybe $400, depends on what it is, and for a handgun. So I did it as, if you're going to go in and turn your gun into a police buyback, I might as well just give you $50 because it's the same thing. Right. And so, but I'm noticing now people who didn't own firearms and have them, they bought multiple firearms, ammunition. Now they realize they can't not afford this thing. And even though they're not even shooting it, it's not an important necessity for them. They look at it, well, if I have this firearm, I spent $600 on it. Well, I'll sell that. And everything's calmed down now. Right. So I don't really need this thing.
I've noticed. So when I mentioned the scenario we were in when the school shut down indefinitely. I mean, when has that happened in the history of this country?
Way before none of us were born.
During the
1912.
The flu pandemic. Yeah.
So
and that
when that happened, it's almost like people were reacting as if somebody came on the news and said, Russia is dropping paratroopers into lower USA. Cuba's just, did a beach landing in Florida. Like people were reacting like this is something huge that just happened and nobody knew where it was going. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are there going to be food shortages? Am I going to be held up in my house protecting our food and my family? Are people going to be trying to break in my front door to eat? And nobody knew where it was going. So the options were endless. And when people get a little tinge of fear, their mind can take them to a million different places. And people when that started, they were willing and ready to buy guns. They didn't care if they were Democrat, Republican, man.
Exactly.
Everybody was on the stage. We don't know where the hell this is going and we need to be armed.
Right.
We saw that in people's eyes. I mean, daily. I had the biggest variety of people coming in. None of them knew anything about guns, to your point about getting training. And, we had to explain very similar. I mean, I will never forget this too. I had a Springfield M1A 308 on my wall, one of the last few guns I had, and I had a Henry 410 lever action 410 shotgun lever action.
Right.
And a guy and his wife came in. They were probably in their late 60s, early 70s, and said, "We need a gun, for defense." I said, look, I am like out of handguns. I said, I do have a Springfield M1A and I have a lever action 410.
Yeah.
And he goes, he goes, which one do you think would be better for defense? And I said, well, it depends on defense against what. But with the M1A, you're getting a 308 and you're getting a round capacity automatic, not a lever. So, I mean, against a horde of people or zombies, I'd go with that. He said, sold, I'll take it. And I said, just so you know, I am out of ammo in 308. And so he says,
wow.
The one below it, what is that? I said, that's the 410. He said, do you have shells for it? And I said, yes. And he goes, okay, I'll take that instead. And that was how he made his mind up on a purchase.
Wow.
That was the level we were dealing with, and it was unreal. And so, I think you're right, Al. You know, people now know. You know, hindsight's always 20/20. We are now here in 2023. The whole flu thing is behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Society's gotten back to normal for the most part,
and
now there's nothing to be afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the first time there's a dishwasher that breaks, or the AC needs to be repaired, or the next toy that comes out that the new computer they want or something. The gun is the first thing to go, especially if they weren't into the gun culture to begin with.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So they never invested themselves into it. So they never took any training. They never used it. And so it's this thing just sitting there collecting dust. So it's like,
it's probably in a closet in a box somewhere. Probably in the box it originally came in.
But the funny,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say the funny thing about it, they want the original price that they sold it for.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So,
once it walks past that door.
Remember, we were like on the phone lines hour after hour after hour. I mean, even my reps like, look, be on our website at 3 a.m. when like overage inventory is like stuff that gets returned goes back up. Hit the refresh button every 15 seconds. Like that's the thing we had to do. So we were not getting a lot of guns. And people are always like, well, the gun shops were, you know, ripping people off and, you know, trying to use an advantage to like triple the price of the gun. Look, if in my store that I normally get in 150 guns a week and I'm only able to get 10, I got to make those 10 pay my rent.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're willing to pay double for a Glock and I have one to sell, I can't. That's on you. I can't let it go. Because I don't know when I'm going to get my next one, and I have guys. I got to. I mean, I got to eat too, and so that's the position we were in. So a lot of people paid, 40, 50, 60% over typical retail for things like Glocks and AR-15s. Today, the market is nowhere near that. It's gone the other way. The pendulum has swung back. So especially on used guns. And I'll make offers. What I do is I go to places like when I make an offer, I'll go to places like Gunbroker or other relevant current market places. I'll see what they're actually selling for, not what people are listing them for, but what they're actually selling for. We'll put in a little margin. I mean, we do pay for shipping and everything, so there's an insurance, so there's expenses we have to take into account there, and that's what our offer is based on. And people will come back, and because we have an offer survey at the end of it. So if you don't accept our offer, we give you the opportunity to tell us why didn't you accept it. Most common reason is we didn't offer enough. And if we didn't offer enough, how much do we need to offer? And I get shocked by some of the prices people put in there. It's like, 3 times more than what we offered. And I'm not saying, our offers on everything are probably not the best out there on everything, because we're not super aggressive on everything. There's certain elements of the firearm market that we don't deal that much in as compared to other gun shops. I know that, but we're usually pretty close. But I'm looking at guns. It's like I go to my distributor and I can get them cheaper than what a lot of people are looking to get out of them. And to me, that's an indication that they bought them when the market was extremely high.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
Still in a little buyer's remorse at that point.
Right. Yeah. It's only firearm that's really went up in price. I say it's the AK. AK went from $270, $274 to almost $1,000 for an AK. And so I can see those people saying, okay, because it's especially if it's a Chinese or Russian Warsaw pack or something like that. Yeah.
Wassers, I bought my first Wasser in like 2011 or 2010 for $450, and now it's $1,000. Yeah, and that's just in the past 10 years. Yeah, and that's not Chinese or Russian. That's Romanian. Mm-hmm. So, we take that all into account too. So we look up again the current day real market price of guns. Mm-hmm. We take into account what we have to pay to get them to us and the insurance and all that, and then we make an offer that allows us to make a little margin on it. And that's how we work.
Right. I think WK had a question for you. I'm gonna pull it up.
He answered it.
You answered it. Yeah, I'm just letting you know.
Sales before, during. So to sum up, sales before, now, during COVID. So sales during COVID were unreal. They would have been way better if we had the inventory, though.
Yeah.
Sales now, I would say sales now are probably back to, or at least the demand, I would say, is back to sort of pre-COVID level. I mean, we're back to like probably 2019 level of demand.
Yeah, except for the ammunition. Probably still scarce. Some scarcity in the ammunition,
especially for reloaders.
Yeah. I'm a reloader. I've been reloading since the '80s, and I have stopped competition shooting because of all that, and because I don't want to burn through my supplies. Because
primers are still tough to get.
Yeah, they're twice the price. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So, did you notice the type of people? Was it women, men, black, white? Was it just
honestly, I mean, it was everyone. I mean, there was no.
It was a mixture.
Conclusion. I mean, there was no. I would honestly say, predominantly. Gosh, it's hard to say. I mean, it was everyone. I couldn't put my finger on what it was. We saw. I have my typical core group of people who come in and shop in our store. They backed off. I didn't see them during that time. They were good. I mean, those are my core customers. They've all got like 50 guns each and hundreds of thousands of rounds of ammo.
Right.
They saw what was happening. They saw the prices were going nuts, and they just said, we're going to sit this one out. And that's part of the beauty of being prepared for things. Buy when the prices are low, stock up, get your ammo, get your guns, get everything you think you'll need, and hold on to them so you're not stuck in a period where the prices triple and you can't get stuff. Especially, again, we didn't know where the flu thing was going. It could have gotten real bad. You didn't want to be the only person out there without a gun and ammo and training. So anyway, so I saw a lot of new faces, like tons and tons and tons of new faces. People that I'd never seen in my store before. Like almost everybody that came in was a new face to me.
Right.
That's cool. Do you notice the trend of ladies who are now more out to buy a firearm or more approachable when it comes to firearms? We see the trend, especially in training, that in the last year, especially, there's more women that were out training than there were men. Men that we know everything already.
Yeah. That's one thing yes, to answer your question, yes, we see a lot more women. I would say before COVID, about my audience was probably like 95% men. Now it's probably about 85 to 90%. So we're seeing a lot more women come in, like probably twice as many as we used to, which is still a smaller number, but obviously a big increase over what we saw before the pandemic thing. And then to your point too, again, who gets training when we're, us behind the counter, we're usually the first line of information that's provided to a new buyer. So we're going over fundamental firearm handling, how to use the different controls on the firearm, your safety, the trigger, proper trigger. The finger off the trigger, basic stuff. So we're usually the first line. And you can spot a newcomer from a mile away, somebody who's brand new to it. So we take the time there. Women are always absolutely more willing to listen than men when it comes to instruction. And I'm not saying every man that we see is not willing to listen, but it's obviously the ones that don't listen as much are always men, and the ones who always do listen are women.
I call him Mr. I know, because you say something and he says, "Oh yeah, that's right." You didn't know that. You didn't know that until I said it. But it never can be like, "Oh wow, thanks." It's always yeah, that's right. That's what that's for. Like, but if you knew that, you wouldn't be asking me this. But yeah, we got you.
Right,
and that's the difference that I see. When it comes to like the manufacturers and the support for the Second Amendment as opposed to just for actual sales of their product, we don't see that many in the realm, up front, because of course we all know that there's plenty of lobbyists and they're funding different organizations. But at the same time, I guess I just give you a shout out to you right here in front for somebody to come on and be a part of the industry, such as yourself, and actually speak about it is very, very rare.
Well, it should go without saying, I love the Second Amendment. I think it's one of the most important things we have as citizens in this country, and it's very unique to us too.
Right.
If it weren't for the Second Amendment, I mean, this is what I've built my life around. So yeah, I will do the things I need to do to protect it. A lot of the disconnect when it comes to, I think, a lot of the big businesses, and this is something that I have to consider as well, is when it comes to running a business, obviously one of the primary concerns is, the solvency of your business. You're paying employees. You got to make smart decisions to keep your doors open. A lot of people, and it's weird, the rule of thumb always is for a lot of people in every industry is don't bring politics or religion into your business, because those are the two quickest way to piss people off if your politics or religion isn't the same as the other person. We're a little bit unique in the gun industry is it's hard to be in this market and have an apolitical approach. I try as best as I can when I'm forward facing with my brands to do that. But there's a lot of reasons why you have to sort of open up about things. For me, most recently, the pistol brace thing is absolutely awful. And if we allow some things like that to go forward, it can be a huge shift, and not only to our Second Amendment rights, but also can change the industry as a whole too. Again, which I'm a part of. So that is something that a lot of companies should come forward and start talking about. And I think a lot of them are. CMMG has made statements on it. SIG, SB Tactical. A lot of companies, several of them have even filed lawsuits. So
Brownells just put money in today.
Yeah.
So, and that leads in this WK is asking you a question. Chris,
he must be on the vibe, man, because he's right on the same line. I mean, it came out the same time you just spoke on it.
Yeah.
So this is what I think about the pistol brace thing. I have to preface this by saying, though, I am not an attorney. Do not take anything I'm saying as legal advice.
We broke down the whole brace thing.
What's that?
We broke it down for like days, weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just give my quick opinion. So January 31st, they said you had 120 days to either drop in a 16-inch upper, to file a tax-free Form 1, making it an NFA item, an SBR. Or I suppose you could destroy it or turn it in, but to me that's not really an option. So there are really two options: are file for your tax stamp or put a 16-inch upper on it. Right now, I would not recommend doing anything because there's 180 days, and I think that puts us in May when this
is May 1st. I'm going to clarify some stuff on that too. So
I wouldn't do anything until then, because there's currently, 25 of the states have sued the ATF. Several manufacturers have sued the ATF. Independent gun rights groups have sued the ATF. I mean, there's so many lawsuits that are open on this right now. And I believe the Fifth Circuit, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it's like 12 or 15 lawsuits going right now.
Yeah, and a lot of them have what I'm going to say, the people who have filed, there's plaintiffs, I guess you would say. Co-sponsors So a lot of them have multiple people on them in different organizations. Right. So there's a lot of money behind all this. There's a lot of power behind a lot of these lawsuits. And I believe it was the Fifth Circuit that said they are going to put out a determination on the stay order.
Yeah, we're trying
this month.
Trying to get a stay. If they get a stay, it holds.
Yeah.
Let me clarify the law real quick.
Yeah, go.
It's you have four different options. Either register, destroy the brace, turn in the rifle, or just take the brace off. And we recommend on this show, take the brace off. After 120 days, you cannot register after the 120 days, because if you do, you'll become a felon.
Yes.
If you don't have a stay. So don't register. Don't register after 120 days. And for anybody have an import firearm like a Draco, anything like that, do not register those, because the retrieval is coming from the ATF, because that's illegal. You can't put a brace on an import pistol, and even once you put it on there, you can't take it off, and you will go to jail. They're coming to retrieve it, no matter what. And so we just tell everybody, don't register them, don't show them on the internet, don't take any pictures. But the only thing I do is just take the brace off, and it's not illegal to own an AR pistol. So,
and I believe that the pistol cannot be readily restorable if you take the brace back on, right? So I believe if you have an AR-15 pistol, you would have to change, like if it's got an M4 buffer tube, you'd have to change it to an. So
no, you don't have to do that. You just can't have the brace and the AR in the same bag or in the same closet or the same safe. So it's because that would show intent. That's the same as I have a crack pipe next to me and look like I'm getting ready to smoke some crack. And so what you're supposed to make the brace itself inoperable, not the firearm. The brace has got to be inoperable. So they want you to crush your brace and not so you won't be able to put it back on the rifle. Gotcha. So, but if you just take it off, hide it in your house, nobody will know you have it. Just don't be telling everybody, you know what I'm saying? Because they're still selling braces. Their braces they're legal to own.
Yeah, they are legal to own. Yeah.
You just can't buy a brace and an AR pistol together. But you can go in, buy the AR, you can go in and buy the brace, take it out to the car, and go back in and buy the AR pistol and go out to the car. That's totally illegal.
There's a funny meme I saw that said, "Here are uses for your braces." And there's like a little girl riding a bike, and she's got the braces on the handlebars.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
Right. The point, you can still own them. You can do anything you want with them, other than put them on your gun.
Put them on, right? Exactly.
The ways you can use your brace and normal.
Run, Forrest, run!
Right. But if the world burns down, who's gonna care who has braces? Right. So, but if they can get this stay to go into place, and we got a lot of idiots out here telling people to register, and a lot of people out there register. Mm-hmm. Once they start that ball rolling, they can't stop it. And so now they're going to look at, even if they put it in, they get a free tax stamp, but now they know they got that brace. So they're just self-snitching on themselves with what's going on. So, and we had a lot of people telling people to, I don't take a class with a brace. Braces for me is for my go bag or my is a point A to point B bag or something like that. It's not for me to take a class, or it's not my go-to. It's my secondary go-to. Right. If I need to get to it in a hurry or something like that, or I travel out of state on vacation, then I have a brace item in there. But now I can just take the brace off and just still run an AR pistol. It's no big deal. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
It's really nothing.
No matter what anybody does, I wouldn't, do what you think's right for you in your situation. And
well, we tell them what they need to do. I will tell them. I'm going to advise them. I know you can't, because you're under the man's rule, his thumb right there. And but me, I will tell people, do not register. And if you go into a place where you're going to buy an AR pistol and they want you to fill out a Form 1, turn around and walk out, because you don't have to do that. It's your right. You don't have to do that.
And I certainly wouldn't do that until these court cases go through, at the very least, because this is likely going to get. I think it's very likely going to be successfully challenged.
Well, if they don't get a stay on May 1st, you're looking at it. How many? What was it? 40 million braces was sold like that. So you're looking at 40 million felons.
Yeah.
40 million people are getting ready to become felons. Mm-hmm. So, and it's really going to be, it's going to be interesting, because they're going to have some fools out there that's going to try to defy the law and not realizing you're going to have that one police officer who pulls you over, and it's going to be it, Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay. WK. And once we get through WK's question, we're going to open up the lines. Chris, what do you recommend customers and gun owners? Consumers stock up for the future. What firearm, ammunition, and accessories? ?
I think that that's up to, what you foresee your needs being and what your motives are. I mean, is it a motive for what's going to have the most value in the future? Because when the market's hot again, I want to sell and
Right.
make
Right.
Is that the motive? Is the motive, I want to be prepared from an end of the world scenario type of situation?
Buy
It depends.
lowers.
If it's what's that?
Buy lowers.
Yeah. If it's an end of the world scenario type of situation, take what you're good with and what you're trained on, your rifle, your handgun, your shotgun, and buy a lot of ammo for those, and make sure you have a good setup, plenty of magazines for all of those. If you have people in your family, get them set up and trained as well. If it's if it's for investment type purposes, 9mm 5.56 ammunition is always the hottest when there's a shortage. 12 gauge shotgun slugs and buckshot. AR-15 lower receivers, absolutely, because they're cheap and easy to store, and they're usually valuable. 30-round AR-15 magazines. AR-15s used to be one of those ones that would go nuts during like panics and shortages, but there's so many of them out there now.
Yeah.
The market is always flooded, no matter when. It's never hard to find an AR-15.
Yeah.
So the days of like $3,000 Palmetto AR-15s and M&P 15s, I think it's long gone. There's just so many out there now.
Right.
And then not accounting for any type of huge surge in the future, it's always wise to, again, from an investment standpoint, if that's your motive, to buy things that are no longer being made. So that's your military surplus. That stuff's gone crazy over the past like 10 years alone. Like Mosins, even 10 years ago, were $80. Now they're like $400. So
I know. And not even worth $400.
That thing is 100 years old.
Even your modern rifles that aren't made anymore, your first gen CZ Brens, and, things like that. Just if it's not made anymore, it will go up in value.
So all just good collector's pieces. And with that, I want to tell everybody to like the freaking show. Wherever you're watching this show from, like this show. Like this show on YouTube. YouTube has been suppressing this channel like no tomorrow, pulling the likes down. We've been shadow banned. They don't even want this channel to even grow on YouTube. So we hate you, YouTube. We're on Rumble. Everybody on Rumble, like the show. We also have the 2 Alpha Talks channel that's up. Go type in 2 Alpha Talk in the search and hit channel, and it'll come up. Please like that and follow it so we can get those numbers up on that page.
Yeah, and it's also just to let you know, just to add on now, that it's different from the one that we've been using.
Yes, it's totally different.
So so it's a Saber Team. 2 Alphas Talk as opposed to the one that said Saber T.
Saber T is the company's name, and the 2 Alpha Talk is the actual channel that we're on, and you can watch all the latest videos on there, and some of the old ones way back from 2 years. And give likes, comments, and thumbs up, and Rumble hits and all this stuff. So with that, we're going to open the phone lines. And when we open the phone lines up, here's a caveat, guys. Please, if you call in with a question for Chris or a question for a question for the show. If you do not have neither one of those, I will hang up on you in a heartbeat. All right. Now, if you call in, the first 4 callers, you'll get a 2 Alpha Talk leather patch. How you would get that patch and how it be sent to you, you will email saberteamtactical@gmail.com your last 4 of your phone number, and that's how I'm going to record if you called or not. And if you don't do that, no patch coming to you. Not my problem. Follow instructions, people. All right. So I'm gonna open the phone lines up now, and we're gonna continue to talk. So like the show on YouTube and Rumble. So I see there's a lot of you guys out there watching the show, especially on Rumble. Please like the show. And we have seen some weird stuff, and it's hard to say, man, where this whole thing's gonna go, because it's really not panning. We're not gonna see the old numbers come down. We've been waiting on the ammunition prices to drop, and 24 cents a round for 9mm is ridiculous. And I know I can reload it for like 6 or 7 cents, but I don't want to blow through my primers. I have plenty of powder, I have plenty. I can get projectiles. It's just the primers. It's the hard, and I have tons of brass, so that's not an issue. And it's the primers is the biggest part. Where I was paying, um, what was it, $24 a brick almost,
Mm,
and now it's just like $70, $80 a brick. You know, it's
yeah.
like really that's ridiculous for 1,000. And they're cheap primers. They're not even the good stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I bought nothing but CCI, and now you buying all this other stuff. And some of these guys are saying some of this stuff is good, but a lot of these guys are still competition shooting, and they're going nuts. But none of these guys, and we have noticed, none of these guys who are doing competition are actually supporting the Second Amendment. They don't really push it because most of these guys are sponsored, and that's how they're getting their ammunition, and not realizing if they support just just the cause itself and say something every once in a while, at least we know where you guys' heads at. Because I have found out, being in this shooting game, we have had a lot of liberal shooters who's totally against the Second Amendment but own guns and shoot competition sports. And it is amazing to listen to those guys that they continue to vote for people who are trying to take their rights away. And we get them out on the range and try to explain that to them. And it's like, you're out of your mind. That's not happening. How is it not happening? You're out here. You never even owned a gun before, but you buying all these guns and you taking this hardcore training from us. It must be a reason that you're doing it, you know?
Hmm. Yep.
And so it is it's very, very strange to see somebody with that mindset, that you buy a gun, but now you're gonna vote for yourself. They're oxymorons. Basically, that's what it comes down to. They're and it's just I just
But
shake my head.
as you call them those names, at the same time, they've come to realize that they need them. So see
Yeah,
that I try to find that area where we can come and we
a
can meet,
fine
right?
line.
Right.
Yeah,
And the thing about it is
I don't
that
have the patience anymore, Al.
I understand, but
Yeah,
but we have to be able to show them the better way. And what a lot of times happens is
show them the way.
they realize that they need to protect themselves. The Supreme Court ruled that the police don't have an individual right to protect each and every individual citizen. So we have to
Right.
defend ourselves.
Right.
You
Hmm.
call the police right now for a real critical incident that's about to go down in your area. Somebody's kicking at your front door. You don't have time to wait anymore. You have to defend yourself. And I think a lot of people of all political spectrum or mindset, should I say, are starting to realize that I have to defend myself at least even a little bit. You don't have to go and kick somebody else's door down, but if somebody comes to kick your door down, you should be able to defend yourself. And I
Yeah.
And
think that's what we're getting.
and ultimately, what is a police officer showing up? I mean, what is that? It's you're calling a guy with a gun. So
Right.
just
Right.
cut
Yep.
out the middleman.
Hmm.
And I think you're right. I think everybody has had this impression that there's a cop on every corner ready to swoop in and save the day
Hmm.
whenever you need them. But what as you called it, Alphonse of the Summer of Love taught us is that is not true. That
Mm-mm.
there is an immense amount of vulnerability that exists, and people need to take that into account when they're thinking about their own personal defense and the defense of their family. And I think that that's also a huge reason why people, because we saw the purchasing happened in two big waves. The first big
Hmm.
wave was the one I described when the school shut down and the flu and the virus was all brewing and all that happened. Then that following summer, when all the riots broke out, we got another huge wave because it was like coming to a neighborhood near you.
Hmm.
Whose neighborhood is going to be next? And we can see on TV and everywhere else that it's basically lawless zones where these riots are
Hmm.
happening.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And the cops aren't going to be there when you call them.
There's not
Um,
enough of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that
and,
part of the strategy was for them to the government told them to drop back,
yeah,
to let them
Hmm.
have that. There
and
was
it
certain
happened.
area. There was so that means your business and your home, or if you lived in that zone, was expendable to them because they told them let them
Yeah.
have it, and they hoped that it would burn themselves out. All they did was find more and more area, and it continued. And then all of a sudden, now you gotta go send the troops in and physically make them stop.
And we should have learned from that during the Rodney King riot, because that's exactly what they did
Mhm.
with South Central LA. They backed off and did a containment wall and let those people burn themselves out for 24 hours before they sent anybody in to stop it. And then from there, when they went in, and the only reason they stopped it because the people started migrating toward Beverly Hills.
Mhm.
That's the only reason they sent the military in to stop that. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
and
No, and
so
that's what made the rooftop Korean picture so
yeah,
Mhm.
famous. It was,
because
and
Yep.
what was
police
that? That
wouldn't come
was
in.
Self-help.
South defending
Yep.
themselves.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Self-help, because the government can do but so much. You have to be able to help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Another interesting element out of this, and I think was a huge advantage for the Second Amendment in general, is I think there are two types of people that are when you talk about people who are opposed to gun ownership. I think there's two types of people. There are the type of people who are fundamentally at their core opposed to gun ownership. People that are just way more left, I think, on the spectrum. Nothing you're going to say is going to change their mind.
Nope.
But then you have a whole group of people who are anti-gun out of convenience. My brother's anti-gun, or my wife's anti-gun, or her family, or my family is, and I don't really care because I don't have a gun. I don't care either way. I don't care if you have
Mhm.
guns. I don't care if you don't have guns. But when I'm at the family dinner table, it's easier for me. It's more convenient to just say, "Yeah, yeah, I agree. Guns should be banned." Blah 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 blah. But once that person becomes a gun owner, they can't say that anymore because then they're a hypocrite.
Thank you.
And just by the sheer action of going out and buying a gun, you are a gun owner. Whether you
Right.
like it or not, you're a gun owner. And if you're against gun rights and you're a gun owner, you're a hypocrite. I mean, in my
Right.
opinion.
Hmm.
And I think, gun rights, the whole debate exists on a spectrum, obviously. But I
Well,
think, people are going to be more reluctant to be anti gun when it's not an impartial thing. It's, I don't care if I
I'm,
have or have not, but now I
right.
have. So now I have a reason to protect my right. And I think that we
Right.
saw a lot of that. And a lot of those people went haywire too. They got like super deep into it. Never owned a
Yep.
gun, thought of owning a gun. Came into my store. I have one customer in particular. Came into my store and bought a shotgun. Didn't know anything about guns. Now the man probably has like 90 firearms.
Wow.
Yep. He
Wow.
got the fever. He got the fever.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
now he's like, massively pro 2A, where just 2 years
Right.
ago he didn't care one way or
Right.
the other.
Right.
Right. Yeah. The more I'm so glad that over 8 million people bought firearms,
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
you're looking at maybe a million of them going to sell them. So then, but the rest of them are going to continue to own those firearms, and you're looking at 10% of that is going to possibility do some training and take it to a next level. So now they're going to start to look at the local politicians. We just had this happen here in the state of Georgia, where we had Stacey Abrams was trying to run for governor, and on her platform, she wanted to get rid of firearms, and so she lost overwhelmingly to Governor Kemp. I mean, it was a landslide within hours of people
Hmm.
voting. And so we think that had something to do with not only the gun control, but that the city, we had a liberal mayor who let the city businesses get all burned down because they pulled the police out and all types of stuff. Then she was prosecuting cops. They lost 3,000 police down in the city of Atlanta, and it was just a mess here. So people were fed up, you know. So it's like, do they want this person here that's going to turn Georgia into California, or do we want to keep Georgia the way it is and try to make it even better? And with that, that last lawsuit, 26 states, and Georgia was one of the 26 states that's suing the ATF. And so, I mean, things are turning around. You know, we
Right.
just got constitutional carry about a year ago. You got three more states is getting ready to do constitutional carry. So it's going to be like 27 states total.
Indiana went constitutional last July.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's 50%, over 50% of the United States is going constitutional carry and now I see they're also getting some type of measure to stop the federal government from enforcing gun laws into the states, you know.
Well,
Hmm.
and Alfonso, you bring up a good point. There's always a lot and there always has been a lot going on the push for gun control. That's obviously not debatable. They're
Mhm.
always trying something new. But one thing we always should remember too, that in these last 2 to 4 years, the amount of victories that we've had, and especially in the courts, has been probably the best we've seen in
Mhm.
the last decade.
Right.
So, as you mentioned, so many of the states are going constitutional, constitutional carry. The Supreme Court is there was the carry laws in New York that got overturned.
Mhm.
The assault weapon and magazine bans in
hmm
Colorado got
Mhm.
overturned, right?
Yep.
And then California, they
California. Yeah.
and so there is a massive pushback now that's happening,
Mhm.
and it's the best I've seen. At
Well,
least in my
I think
lifetime.
everybody sees the end game. The end game is what we went through doing the cough. That's the end game. The end
Right.
game is where your points of views, your what you say online, what you say in person can get you arrested or persecuted for your actions. Now, your First Amendment rights. And so if we go down that road where we lose the Second Amendment, and if they do that for our First Amendment rights, what's next? Now we're gonna
Right.
lose our fourth. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
And they're gonna incarcerate us all. And
Right.
that's the road we can go down very easily because we know we got people in government that's willing to do it without a question.
Well,
You know?
and history has shown us that that outright gun control, gun confiscation, is always the first domino. It always
Mm-hmm.
is.
That's
It
right.
was true in Nazi Germany. Now it's China.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to remember South American country just recently.
Uh, uh, um, uh, well, it's not El Sal, not El Sal.
Argentina. I don't think it was Argentina. I can't
No,
remember.
it was,
But it was a
yeah,
South American country. Just recently, it was like in the last 3 years,
right,
an outright gun registry, and then they immediately went and confiscated
right.
400,000. So
Mm-hmm.
that's always,
Venezuela.
yeah, Venezuela.
Yeah,
I think
Venezuela.
it's always the first domino, always,
Right.
and that would be no different here. And
Right.
so, yeah, I think you're right. And
Yeah.
and it's firearm ownership is more important than I think the Constitution. I think it even goes beyond that. It's just we all have a right to be able to defend ourselves. We all have a right to defend our homes and our family and our country.
Right.
And I think a lot of people who are anti-gun, what they also might be missing in translation is, hey, that neighbor next to you, that coworker at work, the guy sitting next to you in traffic, if that guy owns a gun and something were to happen, like, somebody tried to break into your home or cause you harm and he's got his gun on him, most likely he's going to intervene and protect you.
Hopefully.
If your country gets invaded,
Yeah.
there's 150 million people who will
Right.
Yeah, that'll fight. Yeah,
and-
that'll fight
and
back. Yeah.
protect the
We'll,
country we live in.
yeah, we would join as a force and become all as one. But the neighbor helping you, I think the neighbor, we see it online. They mostly pick up their video cameras and want to record
Those-
the action. So
Those
they-
probably aren't.
Right.
My neighbors, like I know their kids. If I could help, I'd hate to know that something bad was happening to them. But
right.
and it depends on the situation too.
Yeah, I have
Right.
to see,
Neighbor
I
is
have-
a totally different situation.
I have to see the circumstance. If I'm driving up and the circumstance is already happening, then I won't probably do anything because I don't know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
Well,
at
what
that
what
point.
I mean by that is like that person, that complete stranger. If the circumstances were, the country gets invaded, the government goes tyrannical,
Yeah.
that person is going to be
That person.
on the line. I mean, that
Right.
person will
Yeah.
probably step up and one way or another protect you and your
Right.
other rights. And so I
Right.
think a lot of people forget that too. And so,
Well,
150 million gun owners, that's larger than any standing army on this planet.
oh yeah, it is. It's quite a
Well,
lot.
it also goes back to what Chris said is in reference to is like when people see you or they know you in particular, and they say, well, when and something goes bad, I'm going to come to your house. Well,
Yeah, I already told
self help
them,
is
don't come to my house.
the best help. I'm willing to help somebody that's already started, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a few students, clients who are putting their gear together to get it to get. I'm willing to help them, show them how good, better, and best.
You show them the way.
show them the way and help them out, as opposed
Yeah.
to just ordinary having to go to one of my bags and say, okay, this is for you, this for you. That's for my family. And and even the knuckleheads, because most of the people in my family who would be there have already had some training. They may not have this level of firearms, but they understand the manipulations that they need to go through in order to get it up and running. But to have a total stranger just say, "Hey, help me," you didn't help yourself. The
Right.
same thing we were talking about, and we've all been through it,
Yeah.
where you stock up on ammo, and then all of a sudden you look over when then that pile is empty, and it's like, whoa, where did that go? Then you got to restock, or you keep track of it, so that
Right.
when times like this happen, you don't get caught with 3 bullets in a box.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he's gonna take those 3 bullets and try to take your bullets so he can defend his family and himself. And it's not
Yeah.
gonna turn out that way.
And to illustrate that point, I'm sure you guys heard about it. There's a mall here called Greenwood Park Mall. It's probably about 25 minutes south of where I live. And in that, you know the name Elijah Dicken?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're in that mall. Some schmuck, goes into a bathroom, pulls out a gun, and then comes out and starts shooting. And then Elijah Dicken from, I think they said it was 50 feet, or it was it's beyond
what everybody thought to be accurate.
with what I believe was a Glock 19. He fired 10 rounds, hit with 8 or 9.
Right.
At that distance, and the target was moving. And so, the point I'm making is he was there with a gun, and he helped everybody there. He could have gotten out of that situation and run because he was far enough away.
Right.
But he didn't. And yeah, a lot of people might just turn and leave, but he chose not to, and he saved a lot of people. And I wonder how many of those people in that food court may have wished that people like Elijah Dicken couldn't have a gun.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Yeah. That's the point I'm making. Is you never know who's that guy sitting at the table next to you who's got a gun who saves your life,
right?
Like he did. And so, and circumstances like that do happen a lot. The guy in Texas who, after that other schmuck shot up the church, what was his name? Stephen Williford.
Yeah.
He wouldn't intervene. He wasn't even part of that. He wasn't, but that was his. He grabbed his AR-15 and a handful of bullets, and he went and he shot the guy.
Went to work. That's right. He went to work.
And and I wonder how many people in that neighborhood wish that Stephen Williford couldn't own a gun. And that's the point I'm making there. Yeah, you're right. Not in every situation people might.
There are people who. Yeah, and they still are. And
a good guy with a gun.
Yeah, knock on wood. Hopefully, I don't have to intervene. So but
you always hope that it never happens.
Right, I hope it never happens. Yeah, but if it does, you
stand ready if necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so this was an excellent show, Chris.
Yeah,
so we're gonna pull up your website here and stuff real quick, and see how this share goes with 3 people.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Here it goes. Hold on.
Yeah. Did it work? Yeah, it worked.
It's good.
Look at that.
That's good.
Oh man, that's wild.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is where you guys can find Chris. You can go here to this website to make your offers. You can also buy here too. He has an online store at the top, and so I looked over his prices. He's got some good stuff here, so you might want to check that out. Oh yeah, thank you, Young Gun.
And that was a great
show as always, gentlemen. Thank you.
But
Appreciate that.
Chris, whoever picked that picture for that is one of my favorite pistols.
He's deadly with this thing. I need to get one of those. I keep saying I want one. I need to get one. I haven't bought one of those. I do not own one of those Berettas at all. I always hated them at the time. The military came out with them, and I was like, I didn't want to get with the same thing. But I said the same thing about. I just bought my 1911 Rock Island 1911 A2. Yeah, and that thing is a sweet machine. I love it. So, but this is where you guys can go to find him. WeBuyGuns.com. He has contact information on here. If you, he's got how it works, you can just click on get started. If you're interested in selling a firearm, But he also has great sales and stuff here online too. And it has about us. He got his policy, everything you need to know from there. Also, let me pull this down and pull up the other one real quick. You guys can. He has a YouTube channel, and make sure I got the right one. Marksman TV. There it is. You guys see that? And he has several videos up here, and this is. You go ahead and describe this, Chris.
Yeah, so we do lots of different types of videos. We'll do industry updates, so we'll talk about gun industry, like we did some tonight. What's been going on? We did a lot of that during the COVID, and then we'll do unboxing videos. All the guns that we actually get in, from our website. Usually 1 or 2 days a week, we'll unbox several of them on camera, which people enjoy. We'll do gun law updates. Things are happening politically. We do that to some extent, and just general tabletop gun reviews. So a little mixed bag of all sorts of different type of gun content.
Yeah. Great content, guys. Please go follow him. And how to get to it again, the channel is Marksman TV. So follow him there, give him some likes, subscribe to his channel. And also, let me not forget, like the video, share the video on YouTube and Rumble. And I really don't care about Twitch. But but like the video. Here we go. WK, he says super show, guys. Classy guests. Keep it coming. We will.
Thank you.
And you know who that is, Chris. I talked to you about that.
They briefed me before the show started. I know what that. Yeah, I know who that is.
Okay.
Great guy. Yeah, and glad to see you here.
Yeah, and with that, guys, we want to say thank you guys for watching the show. Like I said, like and share. Let everybody know we're going to be bringing more content, more guests coming on every other week. And let's see, what else, Al? What am I missing?
That's it, man. You did a great job. You guys go out and train, get out to the range, even if it's 50 rounds, make them count.
And come see us on the range and get ready for some heavy duty training this year. I'm coming out. I don't come out that often.
Thank you both again for having me on. It was a pleasure to talk with both of you. It was fun.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Chris, for coming on the show. We appreciate you really coming on the show. And you know what? We got so much conversation out of it. We'll bring you back again to pull some more of that information out of you.
Yep.
And don't go nowhere. Hang on.